Someone right now is facing a major choice that involves you directly. Pay close attention, because what I'm sharing could be unfolding quietly and privately in another person's thoughts at this exact instant. You may have no idea it's even taking place. There's an individual who has been dwelling on you far more deeply and passionately than they're ready to acknowledge, even to themselves. You could be sensing a growing separation from them, or a sense of emotional gap filled with uncertainty and mixed signals. Everything on the surface appears calm, almost still, and hard to read. What escapes your notice is that this person stands at one of the most significant turning points in their emotional journey. The choice confronting them carries real gravity. It's far from casual or impulsive. It's a profound deliberation centered entirely on you. This goes beyond surface details like your name, the texts exchanged, or the moments you've spent together. It's about you as a complete essence, as a meaningful force that entered their existence. You arrived in their world carrying genuine significance and substance. Right now, they're turning inward, searching their core, debating whether to move closer or pull back entirely. They're wrestling with the question of embracing you fully or clinging to the security of their anxieties. They're pondering whether to grip tightly to this possibility or release it completely. Such a choice refuses to be hurried or brushed aside. It can't remain buried because you aren't some minor footnote in their narrative. You're a vital section that demands they confront their true identity before it can close. At this moment, they're engaged in an unspoken inner conflict. Outwardly, they may appear completely ordinary, heading to their job, spending time with friends, flashing smiles like everything's fine. They might even project indifference, yet beneath that exterior, their inner landscape looks entirely different. Their mind drifts back to you unexpectedly, often at the most random times. In the stillness of late nights or the early hours of dawn, when distractions fade, profound questions weigh heavily on them. They contemplate whether embracing you would reshape their entire path ahead. They fret that inaction might mean losing you for good. At the same time, they dread that taking the leap could lead to yet another disappointment. A lot of folks overlook the fact that quietness doesn't always signal a lack of emotion. Frequently, it reveals deep, seated fear instead. Certain individuals suppress their feelings out of terror that they'll lose mastery over themselves. Others hold back from pursuing love simply because they've never discovered how to feel secure within it. Their reluctance stems not from indifference toward you, but from the way caring feels risky and exposing to them. There's a well-known concept suggesting that life's most meaningful challenges hide precisely where our greatest fears reside. In this case, you embody a challenge they can no longer sidestep. Their heart draws them steadily toward you, recalling the sensation of truly being visible and comprehended in your presence. They recall the rare peace they experienced alongside you amid a world that usually races too quickly. Their heart clings to the version of themselves that emerged around you, yet their thoughts resist those recollections fiercely. The rational side dredges up past hurts and previous errors, urging caution and warning against fresh pain. It questions whether they're capable enough or deserving enough to pursue this. This pull defines their current reality, the clash between longing and the craving for protection. You sit directly in the heart of that conflict. Not everyone who crosses our path imprints themselves deeply. Plenty pass through as fleeting distractions or brief teachings. With you, however, the impact ran much deeper. You didn't merely catch their attention. You altered something fundamental within them. You reached their most vulnerable emotions without causing harm. You nudged them beyond familiar boundaries without cruelty. You revealed aspects of their identity they hadn't yet examined. Simultaneously, you awakened longing and apprehension in equal measure. That's precisely why this choice carries such weight. Opting for you requires personal evolution, and evolution always challenges the ego's comfort. An old saying holds that the highest achievement lies in stepping into your authentic self. Without words, you extended a gentle invitation for them to walk that road. They sensed it clearly, even without language to describe the feeling. In your company, they experienced greater genuineness and openness. Connections of that caliber don't simply dissolve when communication pauses. That's the reason you remain unforgettable. That's why hearing your name still stirs something profound within their being. You weren't background chatter in their existence. You represented purpose, solace, and guidance. Encountering such significance compels self-examination. A powerful insight states that unacknowledged inner truths will direct your life while you label it destiny. This individual now teeters on the brink of that revelation. They're beginning to grasp that inaction itself counts as a deliberate path. They understand prolonged quiet could mean forfeiting you entirely. They recognize that another person might recognize your worth and pursue it confidently, without hesitation. They see that what they've delayed appreciating won't linger indefinitely. Simultaneously, past wounds continue echoing loudly in their thoughts. This pause isn't necessarily directed at you personally. Often it traces back to shadows from experiences predating your arrival. They harbor an unspoken dread of falling short for you. Genuine, profound affection frequently breeds vulnerability and self-doubt. When facing the prospect of losing something truly precious, self-questioning intensifies. They're pondering whether they possess the capacity to meet the needs of this bond. This deliberation expands silently, beneath the surface. While they value your presence greatly, your current self-assurance and self-regard hold equal importance. Interestingly, the instant someone ultimately selects you often arrives precisely when you've ceased anticipating their decision. What you resist persists stubbornly. What you embrace transforms you. The strongest shifts occur the moment you refuse to pause your own existence due to another's uncertainty. That's where genuine strength emerges. As they loop through familiar mental patterns, an inner movement has already begun. Awareness, once gained, cannot be undone. They revisit shared instances repeatedly in memory. They recall your attentive listening, the freedom you offered without pressure. Those recollections surface unexpectedly, reinforcing that your bond wasn't random chance. They're gradually recognizing you as a symbol of sincere emotional depth. You function like a reflection revealing both their current state and potential future self. Such reflections unsettle those unprepared to confront their inner essence. That's why their behavior oscillates. One moment brave enough to reach out, the next retreating because separation feels less threatening. They assume time will resolve everything. Yet time doesn't diminish a tie this strong, it simply sharpens its outline. They notice how colorless existence seems in your absence. You reshaped their internal reality permanently. Now responsibility enters their considerations. They're questioning their ability to be consistently present, emotionally open, and protective of the connection rather than sabotaging it during moments of panic. These inquiries demand real maturity. Selecting you eliminates room for partial commitment or ambiguity. They understand you're not built for prolonged uncertainty or endless waiting. Committing to you requires embracing honesty and wholeness. This point often triggers the greatest reluctance precisely because their feelings run deep. They recognize full involvement in your world necessitates change. Change brings accountability. Growth never arrives without discomfort, and they stand precisely at that threshold. They also detect your own transformation. Even without words, your energetic shift registers. They sense you're no longer pursuing explanations or pursuit. You're centered, prioritizing your own path. That shift unsettles them. When one person ceases chasing, the other loses perceived control. When waiting ends, reality lands heavily. They see you're advancing independently, that your value doesn't hinge on their resolution. This sparks urgency. Visions arise of you thriving with someone decisive or finding calm alone. Those images highlight their attachment. Fear of losing you permanently surfaces, along with worries of disappointing you or reopening scars. Some freeze, mistaking stillness for neutrality. In truth, it's evasion. Yet even evasion constitutes a choice. Each day without bravery carries its price. Subtle regret, mounting tension from suppressing something vital. They're discovering distractions can't substitute for you. Quiet brings no relief, only postponement. Through this experience, they're learning avoidance no longer suffices. Safety devoid of substance rings hollow. The real issue shifts from whether feelings exist to whether courage exists to honor them. Your part involves remaining true to your essence. No persuasion is required. Strength flows from prioritizing your development. Regardless of timing, the crucial transformation occurs within you. Choosing yourself ends debates over your deservingness. They either meet you at your level or clear space. Both possibilities foster your expansion. Those willing to introspect awaken most fully. Tension intensifies because the matter now concerns their fundamental character. Embracing you equals adopting elevated standards and fresh ways of existing, terrifying territory for many. Some prefer distant longing over the demands of closeness. A powerful bond like yours insists on authenticity. This prompts sabotage attempts or justifications about timing, masking raw fear beneath rational facades. Truthfully, they're frightened of faltering at something genuinely consequential. You reach their essence, prompting doubts about adequacy, consistency, reliability. Full commitment strips away concealment. They'd stand completely visible, answerable for choices. Such exposure horrifies chronic self-protectors. Yet they witness your resilience too. You remain intact without them, neither pleading nor crumbling. You radiate self-value, rendering you impossible to ignore. They long for the ease and authenticity felt in your presence. Comparisons to others fall short. Genuineness etches lasting impressions. They're grasping that dodging the bond doesn't dissolve the emotion. Thoughts of you thriving elsewhere sting sharply. Regret builds over potentially squandering something uncommon due to paralysis. Inner dialogue turns pointed. Is fear robbing them of a singular opportunity? Clarity emerges because your example exposed their escape patterns. Waiting indefinitely isn't required. Your task: cultivate a life that resonates deeply with you. When they sense your evolution might close the door, their choice crystallizes. No space remains for indecision or pretense. They must advance purposefully or withdraw permanently. No sustainable halfway. Fate responds accordingly. Bonds destined for expansion navigate fear. Those intended as lessons dissolve when growth stalls. Energy accumulates now. Real-world movement approaches. A communication, a resolution. Until then, anchor in your worth. Ceasing to bargain your value shifts external dynamics. Pressure mounts on them. Existence demands resolution. Indecision exhausts. Their learning darkness must be traversed for light. You've become their clearest reflection. Self-perception sharpens. They question whether fear or authenticity defines their path. Sensing your independence accelerates time. Realizing authenticity is prerequisite for having you. They'll either summon bravery or remain static. Truth arrives regardless. You're reclaiming tranquility. Love isn't won through effort. It's permitted in alignment. Ceasing self-diminishment clarifies everything. Resolution nears. Forward movement brings intention. Retreat signals limitation reached. Both deliver honesty. Doubt ends, self-grounding prevails. Silence ceases neutrality, it concludes. Love requires alignment. If meant for you, fear yields. Otherwise, direction clarifies. Your self-decision mattered most. Welcome to Sight Lens. If this resonated, comment clarity. To affirm choosing self-respect over ambiguity. Subscribe for deeper insights. Share with whoever needs this message now.